It's a big one this weekend. Utah, Oklahoma State. Let's jump out to the zone phone. He makes the magic happen for the Stillwater News Press. He's Ryan Breeden with us here on Jake and Ben. What's going on, Ryan?
Hey, Ryan.
Jake, Ben, nice to meet you guys. I know it's just over the phone, but, I'm excited to chat some Oklahoma State and Utah. This is a fun matchup coming up.
Yeah, Utah fans, I think their confidence totally relies in the health of Cam Rising, and it seems pretty confident that he's going to play. Dorian Singer, the wide receiver for Utah, implied he was playing. The injury didn't look that bad when it first happened, so it seems like that's where all the faith is. What are Oklahoma State fans banking on for their ability to win this game?
Well, I think that, kind of in the same vein as Utah, I think you're looking at whether or not Cam Rising's going to play, right? And so, you feel like he probably is going to. I'll tell you, a bunch of people on the Oklahoma State side of Twitter, all the fans and stuff like that, were kind of speculating after yesterday seeing the betting line go from Utah 1.5 all the way to Oklahoma State 2.5 over the course of about an hour. And it's very rare for a betting line to, jump like that. So people are like, well, what does Vegas know? What's happening? No one really knows. If I had to guess, from what it looks like, I would think that Cam Rising will play, just based on everything that, you would think big game, he looks like he should be ready. And if he is, I think that it's going to be a dogfight. I think you've got two very veteran quarterbacks. I think you have teams whose strengths match up with each other's strengths. So I think that, looks like it should be a 4-quarter game, a fun type of atmosphere, and something that I think was really what you intended when you brought Utah into the Big 12.
So it's been fun getting to know this new league over the past couple of years with BYU going in last year and now, of course, Utah. And, I have a feeling that Oklahoma State will be a common, school that will be atop this conference. And we know a little bit about Mike Gundy. He's a lot like Kyle Whittingham, right? He's been around forever. And we've thought forever about this run game and toughness and all that sort of thing. And Ben and I were breaking down the stats the other day. Oklahoma State in rushing is, what is it? What did we find out, Ben? They're lower than 100, and in passing, they're up in the top 10. What is going on, Ryan?
Okay, so I'll break this down for you, so that way anyone listening can get a feel for why this is happening. So first and foremost, run game hasn't been good, right? And you look at Ollie Gordon coming back, Doak Walker Award winner from last year, the entire offensive line returning, and you think, okay, Ollie Gordon's going to have 1,500 yards again this year. Going to be in the top 20, top 15 in the whole entire country in rushing. That's what you'd expect. Well, that's also what opposing defenses are expecting too. So you look at the tape these last 2 weeks against Arkansas, SEC defensive line, Landon Jackson up there. He's an all SEC type player at defensive end. And then you also look at Tulsa and what they did schematically. These teams are stacking the box against Oklahoma State. That's really what's happening. And now it's kind of a multi-faceted equation to go into this. First and foremost, the line needs to block better. Second, Ollie Gordon, I think he's trying a little bit too hard. I think he's expecting every time he gets the ball that he can just run full steam ahead and be standing in the end zone 3 or 4 seconds later. And I think also, you got to play against what the defenses are throwing at you, because if a defense is going to try to take away the run, they're going to take away the run, right? If someone's stacking 7, 8 guys in the box, which is pretty much what Tulsa did the entirety of last week, even at the expense of putting their undersized corners in one-on-one matchups with Oklahoma State's big physical receivers, they did that. They said, you know what, we don't care. We're stopping Ollie Gordon, and we're not going to do anything else. So teams are banking on stopping the run game, so that makes it hard, first and foremost. But it does need to be better. There's things Oklahoma State can do to make it better, and Ollie just needs to be a bit more patient. That's what he was last year. That's what made him really good last year. He has his insane physical attributes that he showed off all the time last year, and even has this year. He's just not showing the same patience-ness and awareness that he had last year. But then, when teams want to take away the run, put 7, 8 guys in the box, they're probably going to take it away.
Jake, my co-host, said, we know Mike Gundy. Do we? The same way I bet you kind of have a perspective on Kyle Whittingham, but everyone who covers him here is like, yeah, he's a tough guy, but he's very enjoyable. People truly like him. The media likes him. Everyone who works with him likes him. The players like him. He's a pretty beloved figure. How is Gundy? Because there is certainly the outside perspective of I'm a man, I'm 40, being rough and tumble. Is he likable when you get up close to him, or is there an acquired taste?
No, so I'll tell you this quick story. At his media availability that he does every week this past Monday, he stepped away from the podium to go help haul away a big drink cooler that was making a loud noise. They were getting it out of there because it was making a bunch of noise. He stepped away from his podium and helped them literally wheel this thing out in the middle of his press conference. And so that's kind of the type of person that he is. He is incredibly open and honest and genuine and very, very quirky, a very wacky guy. And I think that those parts of his personality have really shown through the older that he's gotten, the more he's been around. He's always shown the fire, right? You mentioned the I'm a man, I'm 40. Crazy to think that was, 17 years ago, 16 years ago at this point. But he's the type of guy that as a media member, you love having to interview him because he's going to always tell you, straight up what's going on. He's not a big fan of quote unquote coach speak. He likes to, just string it out and say things the way that he sees them. And it makes it for a more fun interview. And he's the type of guy that you'll know he's always going to shoot you straight. And that's just what he is. And I think that, people around here, especially in the media world, you get to see him a couple times a week. I think they respect him for that.
What are kind of you talk to fans every day, I'm sure. What's the vibe of the Oklahoma City kind of community towards the new league and also the breakup with Oklahoma? Because we watched Utah and BYU break up for a little over 10 years, and now getting back together in the league is pretty cool. But what was that like where you are?
I think that there was a lot of, and there still is a lot of disdain about the fact that Bedlam football is not going to be played on the schedule, and you get both sides throwing around, well, it's Oklahoma's fault because they're the ones that are leaving the league, and they shouldn't expect for Oklahoma State to have to, drop everything and schedule these games. And then you get the guys outside on Oklahoma saying, oh, Oklahoma State's not scheduling these games because they're scared because the all-time record, they lose all the time, this, that, the other thing. So it's typical rivalry stuff there. I think that now you're at a point where 3-4 years removed from the initial announcement, I think that it's worn off in the fact, the initial kind of shock of it. But I think that it's going to be strange not having Bedlam football really at any point over the next few years. I mean, it's been a staple in Oklahoma culture. It's become a huge part of these people's lives for, 100 years plus. So it's definitely weird. And looking through a schedule where you don't see Bedlam is weird. But I think that a lot of people are excited for the new conference. I think that you look at a team like Utah, the prestige they have, all the conference championships, the big fan base. I think that you look at that type of, product you're bringing into the conference, and the people around here are excited about that. So this has been a game for this weekend coming up. People have been talking about this one since the schedule first got released back in, I think it was like late spring when the Big 12 games actually got announced for their dates. But people around here have been circling this one for ever since that dropped.
What do we think about the defensive performance so far from Oklahoma State and what they're going to look like coming into this game? They gave up 20 points to South Dakota State. Really, we're kind of hammered early and then shorted up against Arkansas and then gave up only 10 points against Tulsa. What's the expectation from that defense here?
Yeah, so this has been a really weird defense. I don't think that I speak for myself, and I think I can speak for a lot of us around here. I don't know that we've ever really seen a defense like this in terms of when you look at the statistical yards allotted to the opposing teams, it's atrocious. But when you look at the amount of points that are being scored, it does not correlate. So you look like in the secondary for Oklahoma State, they've allowed 15 completions of 20 or more yards through the first 3 games. They've let opposing teams gash them for big plays. But at the same time, opposing offenses have gotten into Oklahoma State territory 26 times this year, and they've only gotten into the end zone on 6 of those trips, and they've been scoreless on 16 of the 26 times. So somehow, some way, this defense is basically the exact epitome of bend, don't break so far. And a lot of that came solely from the Arkansas game. Against South Dakota State, they look very good, which is what you almost would expect an FCS opponent. Granted, they are a good FCS opponent. You would expect for them to kind of dominate, and they did. And the same goes against Tulsa. You basically had your starting defense give up no points in the first three quarters. The 10 points Tulsa scored was with, backups, third strings, fourth string kind of guys in late in the fourth quarter. So you really look at the starting defense holding a shutout there. But again, that one game you look at against Arkansas, especially early, the defense looked awful. And it kind of was surprising. But at the same time, they've been strong in areas, and they've been weak in areas. The tackling's been a lot better. They're very deep in the secondary and on the defensive line, so they're able to rotate guys in, stay fresh. They've been able to outlast teams in games. That's how they won that Arkansas game. You look at the conditioning, the physical shape, and the depth. That helped Oklahoma State outlast that into the double overtime. And so that's kind of what I see from this defense. I think that some of the key guys, Nick Martin is the number one guy that Utah should be looking at. Number 4 in the middle of the field, linebacker, led the Big 12 in tackles last year, 125 tackle type of guy, ton of quickness, great instincts for the ball, very smart. He's the number one guy you look at, and so I think that it all kind of bases around him.
So with all this stuff factored in, knowing what you know about Utah, what kind of game do you think we're in for?
Oh, I think that, if you expect for Cam Rising to play, which is what you would think, I think that we're in for a back and forth, fourth quarter type of game. I could see whichever team wins, I could see him winning by between 3 and 7 points. I think that I don't know if it'll be necessarily whoever has the ball last type of scenario is going to be the team that wins. I think it'll be whichever team comes up with a big stop in the fourth quarter, gets a big momentum type play. That'll be the team that comes out on top.
For Ute fans who might be boarding a plane today or tomorrow and headed out there, what kind of environment are they in store for? Pretty raucous, I'm guessing.
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time. You get a ton of passionate fans. You get 55,000 strong packed inside of a stadium with an additional 20,000 outside tailgating. It's a big-time game day environment. Go out and tailgate before. Go walk around. The student union is only a couple blocks away, the biggest student union in the world, and they've got a whole bunch of stuff and activities to do down there. You're going to see a lot of orange, a whole lot of tailgating, and, yeah, it's a good environment. I'm excited for Utah fans to be able to experience it and to be able to be a part of it.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate you jumping on with us and look forward to many more of these exciting games in the future. So we'll have you back, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%. I'm looking forward to it as well, guys. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Ryan.